Shut up and sit down.
Hello folks, welcome to bike number 2 of the Rossi trio, and this is the Tamiya Honda NSR 500 from the year 1999, and we're going to be doing it as the Nastro Azzurro decal set that Valentino rode back in the day. The usual nice concise Tamiya instructions there, very simple to follow folks, you can't go wrong. The eagle-eyed of you will notice that these are the more modern instructions that have all the hose lengths and screw sizes printed on the page as well. So you can just lay it on the instructions with a pair of tweezers and you can see you've got the correct screw, or you can cut your hoses to the correct length, folks. Really love that idea from Tamiya, so props to them for that. As you can see, really good concise diagrams. Everything you need to see is on the page. And that's the decal scheme we're using in the corner there. So that's the instructions done. Let's get some of the stuff out of the box and show you what you get in the kit. Here's the bag that contains all your rubber parts, screws, screwdriver, any brass bits and bobs is all in that bag. Next up, you got your fairings there, your top and your bottom fairing. Lovely, like that, all nice and separate in a bag. This is the aluminium frame and swing arm, twin spar aluminium frame there. You'll notice it's totally different from the tubular one that Graziano's bike had, but I'm still going to paint it. Yes, folks, I'm still going to paint it, so I'm going to dip the frame. Here's your wheels and the rear seat cowl and your exhausts with the fuel tank there as well, all in halves. Similar process there, we'll join it all together and de-seam it. Nicely moulded, looks really crisp that, so I'm pretty pleased with that. We'll just rest that at the back there. And this is your engine, the rear mudguard, seat pan, motorcycle chain, paddock stand, all your ancillary components as well as your brake discs. Looking rather splendid there, so we get to detail all of that lot at a later stage. Beautifully moulded. I can't see anything wrong with that, to be quite honest with you. And I think it's going to build up into a really nice looking Rossi bike. I'm quite excited about this one. And then we got some decal sets in there. And you got your original decals in there, back in the day, Mick Doohan, etc. Well, we're not going to be using those ones because we're not doing the Repsol Honda job. We're doing the Nastro Azzurro, which is this decal set here. Loads of different decals, all your sponsor brands, stripes, different colour highlights that are going to go on the seat cowl. And then obviously you got your canopy decals there. All the numbers of Valentino and sponsors, as well as a set of paint masks. Looks rather nice. Exhaust decals and obviously the tyre decals there. We'll be showing you them. That's the two-part ones there that you rub onto the tyres. You then got some exhaust carbon as well as all the sponsor brands. And there's a spare set of them as well, just in case. And that's the PlayStation decals there as well for the fuel tank and sides of the fairings, folks. So we'll keep that all safe together in its little protective wrap. And we'll put them all to one side away from water or glue because, yeah, I am rather accident prone at the bench, folks. We can put that all away in a nice bag, keep it safe because, yeah, why not? Right, let's make a start. So we're just going to be chopping off the engine parts there, off the sprues. Cut a little bit away from the piece, so you've got about 1 mil, and then you can sand them back. We're just going to race through putting this engine together. It really is that straightforward, folks. Plenty of Tamiya white cap around all the edges there, and then just press fit everything in place and give it a squeeze, just to use some of the kit plastic as a filler. And it goes together really quite easily, folks. It's not a massive job. A little bit fiddly in a few places, but you can pretty much get this done very quickly indeed. So you've got all your detail parts going on, hoses for the radiator. But I shall be pretty much spraying this all to one colour, and then I'll come back and detail all the ancillary components afterwards. So that's the engine pretty much gone together. Really is that straightforward, folks. Look at that. And then we can start now just putting on any finishing touches, little oil coolers, that sort of thing. Just popping them all in place. And then we can put that to one side, ready for the next stages. But this is that stage that I can get all the little bits and bobs on that I need to get on. And it will just free me up then to do the other parts of the bike. As you can see, everything pretty much is dry fitted first. Once I'm happy that it reaches its desired position, I then glue in place, folks. As you can see, that's the engine done. Exhaust's pretty straightforward. You've got an insert that goes in there, as you can see, and you repeat that on all the exhausts. We've now dipped our frame and got rid of the aluminium, so we can put our frame together now. Double glue on everything there, each side of the frame and the swing arm, so that when I put it together, I can give it the big old squish factor, which is what I want, folks. Okay. Repeat the process on the frame there, right round that headstock. Give it a good squeeze, and then put in the cross member that's got the suspension mounts on it. And then obviously I just want to quickly dry fit just to make sure everything moves and does what it should. And then we can finagle that and get rid of any seams at a later stage. Any bracing bars are going in at this stage. We're now ready for primer. I'm using pink again, folks. We're getting the tanks, fairings and all of that painted with pink because we've got a yellow going over this. So I'm going for pink because it's going to give me a yellow that is got a bit of depth to it, got a bit of pigment to it. So it's not bright, but it's also not too dark. It's just in between. You'll see when you spot it, like a rich banana yellow almost. So we'll give everything a coat of pink. Get that all done. Same with all the fairings. Remember to do all your little grooves in there where you got vents, etc., because you want to get paint on all them edges. Because if you miss them now, you'll regret it, folks. There you go. Same with the seat cowl there. Nice smooth coat of primer. And again, this will have another coat before the colour goes on. Quite a curvaceous little seat cowl, this one. So the light hits it. So if you've got any imperfections, it may show. So just check your work. This is the top half of the fairing going on. You'll notice on the peg board behind, I've got all the different bike fairings because I was doing a trio of these. So they've all been done with the pink. That's why the sprue carrier looks so full there. I'm going around the edges there, and then I'm getting all the little vent gullies, and then we can come underneath and give that a coat. Now this is to me a yellow gone down, and to me a white that's going down. So we'll do the rear cowling with its white, the fairing there, lower fairing with a white, and we've got a gunmetal going along there as well at some point, folks. So we'll be using the masks that come with the kit. Obviously, we'll let the paint cure before we put the masks on. Otherwise, there is a risk of it lifting the paint, folks. What I tend to do is I tend to do the first stage. I then leave it for 24 hours. And then I'll mask afterwards and then just whip the gunmetal on them. So we'll get the engine done. We're using a grey primer on everything, engine and frame. The frame got stripped of its aluminium. And then when it comes to painting the frame, I'll be using a Dura aluminium. Grey primer going on the wheels there. They'll be done in a gunmetal. And then we're just going around now doing the exhausts, getting them all ready. That's your exhaust tips there, as you can see, using the aluminium there, or titanium silver, should I say. Just giving them a coat. Like I say, just mist it over, give it 2 or 3 coats on everything. Same with the paddock stand there. The chains get in the coat. And then we can start coming round now, doing the calipers, the brake discs, and all of that lot in a darker colour. This is the engine getting its coat. Give that a good covering. And that's a gunmetal going on there. Just to darken it down, and then I can always dry brush any bits and pieces I want a little bit different then. There you go, folks. Out with the aluminium. Give that a nice coat. And this stuff really is good. I love this stuff. Dura aluminium. It's one of my favourite aluminiums, I must admit. Gives me the colour I want. Again, it's personal choice. Here's the wheels getting their paint on there. Just quickly check in with the light just to make sure it's light enough for me. I'll just give them a couple of coats. Try and get all the edges as well. Any little nooks and crannies, get them all a coat. And then we're going over the forks now. Getting them all done. And then obviously the rear hugger. And now we could start doing the detail on our exhausts here. And I'm using about 6 to 8 PSI. I've got a Mac valve on this little airbrush. Everything's dialed right down. And I'm just going in with smoke just to do some of the shadow of the weld lines. Working my way around any areas of the exhaust that would have been welded. Now, I tend not to mask off and go for perfect burn marks because as an ex-welder, you don't always get parallel lines. So I like to just freehand it. Just gives me an authentic shadow. I prefer it that way. Just my personal choice. Start putting some decals on. That's the exhaust. Yes, folks, it was that quick. And then we can go around with a cotton bud just to give them a bit of detail. Now, I'm putting a gloss varnish on these tyres for a reason, because they've got the rub-on decals going on them later on, so that's why they've had a gloss. And once they go on, I'll then go over it again with a matte varnish to knock them back. Putting on the swing arm decals there, same each side, just definitely give it a bit of brushing. And then we can start moving on to the body panels now. Getting them all done. Looking rather sexy, I must admit. Simple process, folks. Same process for every single decal. Just get it down there. Apply a brush. Go over it with a Q-tip. You can't go wrong, folks. Like I say, just get them all in place. Things like this is, again, a compound edge that this is going on. So the top part of the decal is on the upper part of the fairing, and then it folds under on itself, which is quite difficult to get right. Same with a number. It's a compound curve. Just float out any creases. And it's the same with these side fairings. Lots of different shapes. So you might need to just run a knife along the decal to trim it, and then it will conform to the fairing shape. And also let your solutions do their job, folks. Give them time to bed these decals down. Very quick process. These white squares are going to have these sponsors over them just to make them pop. And then we can come back now. Let's put some of the smaller fairing decals on. So that's that side done. We just need to repeat it that side. Same with the seat cowling. Get all your numbers on. I use my knife just to move the decal around and line it up, and then I can blend out any bubbles with the brush towards the edges, and it will conform quite nicely then. Same with these decals that are going along the side. Use your line as a guide just to try to keep the decal reasonably level, because yeah, there's always going to be the one person that will spot it's a bit skew, so just try and use that as a marker. Once you've got one side done, the other side is quite simple. Then you just mirror what you've already done. Obligatory HRC logo going on there. Again, a slight compound curve like the inside of a spoon bowl. So just let the decal start conforming. Roll your cotton bud along it. And then if you need to, give it a kick with some microsol. You've got a decal going on a decal here, so make sure the underlying decal has fully cured and bedded itself in. And then we're just putting the brand decal on over the top of it. Just working its way around the exhaust there. And then just using my knife, I'm just quickly leveling it up as best as I can. And it's the same with these ones. These are tiny little decals and these stripes as well. Getting them to conform was a bit of a mare, but they went eventually. And then I can start now putting the other 46 on and trying to get that to marry up with the other side. That is a little bit of a faff, but it will go. So you might need to just move it along. Use your instructions as a reference, folks, because you've got the full bike picture on there. And then just keep spinning it around to check that they're looking like they should. And then just roll the decal across the top. And it will start conforming. And it really does start coming together at this stage, the bike, I must admit. I'm really liking it. Like I say, just take your time. I tend to do these overnight. Nice period of time overnight. Nice and quiet. And you can just sit there and do your thing, folks. Just roll that over there. Let that start floating over that edge. And then I can start bringing it over now towards the seat unit. Probably give these a little coat of microsol, just so that any imperfections can bed down. We'll see. Just gently caress it. Try not to stab at it too much because you'll end up moving the decal. I've got a habit of using my thumb just to hold the decal in place because I've been caught out a few times in the past. And then I can just re-wet any edges, start putting the solutions on, like so. And that will conform nicely. Again, just check all your other decals just to make sure they're all still in place. And then we can now do this lower white section with the sponsor decals as well as the Honda. So I'm just flipping it backwards and forwards just so that I can see whether I'm lining up with the other side. What I tend to do is just roll it across my thumb and I'm looking at both sides and I draw an imaginary line across the model in the hope that I can get these as level as I can and symmetrical as I can. I've put the tank on purely and simply so that I can get this swish across the tank that marries up with the fairing one. As you can see, you've got your silver lines. And what I'll do in a minute is I'll show you a little trick I use. I tend to put me sanding stick across there as a straight edge just to make sure that I'm getting me alignment correct. Something I started doing when I did the big Suzuki. And I just hold that in place with my thumb. That decal's already dried. But I can now, underneath that sander, I can just use my knife just to pull that tank decal down so that I can get my silver lines and yellow lines level. Just works for me. And it just lets me see by eye that they're marrying up. And this tank, again, you've got a compound curve at the top edge, and then it recesses right in. It bowls in like the inside of a spoon bowl, and it's quite difficult to get that silver swish to conform without the line moving. So be patient. It will go, but it is a little bit of a fiddle, this one. I won't lie to you. It is a challenge. Just start the decal going in, and then we can just come back to it and just finagle with it until it starts conforming roughly to where I want. And then the decal solution will do the rest of the work for you, folks. But as you can see, it's quite a deep bowl. So you will just have to rest the bike down, let the bulk of the decal settle, and then you can start working in a little bit of microsol. just around any edges that really, you know, are going to need a kick. And then whilst that's going off, I'm going to go against my better wishes. And I'm just going to brush into the decal just to see where I can kickstart it into conforming. There's also a little Honda logo at the top of this decal as well that you want to land in. So just check your writing, move it about just to make sure that it's staying in line. And then this will start bedding itself in. Just quickly check me lines. I need to pull that down just a little bit. And then we can just brush along that now. Start floating that underneath, and it's already begun to soften because of the micro salt. So as you notice, I was able just to push the brush slightly against it and it just popped in place. So we'll sit that to one side and let the decal solution do its thing. These are the tyre decals. Remember, I've got a gloss coat on the wheel rim, and then I'm just laying that on like so. And then you just press it into place. And these have got a little film on the front that you peel off once the decal is in. So you just want to line that up. Try and get it as near as damn it as you can with the edge of the real wheel rim. And then I'll be able to use my brush then and get that in situ, folks. Bit of a fiddle, but they will go. Just like that. And again, I'm just dabbing with my knife just to get it as reasonably near as I want. And then I can just use my brush then just to roll it onto the tyre. And this is why I tend to gloss coat. Just gives that something to stick to. Once it's all gone into place, I can then just put a nice matte varnish over it and knock it back. There you go. Just repeat the process until you're happy with the alignment, the placement, etc. Same with the others. Just follow the same process. If I remember right, I think there's 4 you've got to do. So just let that go into place because there's a little groove that goes around the edge of the tyre that these sit in. So it's quite a finicky stage. A lot of people worry about tyre decals, but like I say, just put a gloss coat down, they'll go down. Because you get 2 types, you get decals and you get the one with the 2 films on it. So, but they explain in the instructions how to do them. I'm just laying my brush on in the groove of the tyre just to try to push the decal into the recess on this one. And then gently feed it in. Right. Let's put the seat cowling on. It's a shame that all that beautiful exhaust staining is going to get covered by the seat cowl, but when you look underneath the bike, you can still see the exhausts against the black background. It's almost a shame that after all that effort, you don't see a lot of it. But we know it's there, don't we? A couple of screws hold this in place, the seat unit. So just pop them in and that will retain that in place nicely. Just like that. Don't need a lot of pressure. I've already gone around with all my screws and recut all the threads in the frame. It's something I do. It just makes assembly later on a bit easier. Again, same process, just pressing with my thumb and then wobbing the screw in place, folks. The only reason I'm pressing it with my left thumb is it holds the seat unit against the frame. Gives me a nice little panel line, like so. I want to make brum brum noises. Right. We can now pop these exhaust tips through the back side and feed them into the pipes, like so. It's easier doing it this way than trying to hook that seat cowl round them, because you do risk damaging the decals. I just feed them through the holes in the back of the seat cowling, and then they just press into place. And then if you need to, just pop a little bit of extra fin on the end and it'll just zap itself in the gap. Right, we can look at popping these other exhausts on now, these silencers on this side. Again, just pop them in place, and there's a little screw that goes on the exhaust hanger there coming off the seat unit, just where my left thumb is, folks, okay? So you'll need a screw to go in there. So again, just give them a little jiggle, and then they'll line up with that screw quite happily, and you'll be able to fix this in place. Can be a bit of a persuasion fit, but it will go. Again, I've been round, pre-cut the thread, just to aid this going in place. So that's that in place. Just hold that in there. Looks like it's all lined up nicely. I do like the exhausts, I must admit. I'm quite chuffed with them. Right, so let's go over, just brushing on a little bit of matte varnish now, just to knock these wheel rims back, and then we can drop the rear wheel in place, hook the chain in like so, and then we can start feeding the axle screw through into situ and get ready to screw that in place, folks. Okay, just give that a little press with my thumb, and then start turning that quite nicely. And then just feed the screw through. Make sure all your wheels are lined, and then it'll bite into the other side then of the swing arm, folks. That's the theory. Just nip that up, pop, like so. And that's the rear wheel, and then I can turn it as to where I'm happy. We can then go on and attach the front mudguard. Make sure you clip that in the pins just above where the calipers are there, folks. There's a couple of little rods that poke up that clips into. We can then go in and attach the front wheel, like so. And then we can use the screw that comes with the kit as a front axle and pop that through. Make sure you're lowering your calipers up first. And then we can tighten that down, folks. Nice and easy. And then feed the screw through. And then just screw it fully home. Turn the wheel to your desired pose. We then just put the filler cap on the fuel tank. All these little details just to finish the model off. Again, that's had a gloss coat, 2K. And then we can polish this all up once the kit's built. Just going around grabbing any little tiny bits and pieces that need to be added. And then we can start getting this model ready for its end stage. It's been a really nice, interesting little build to do, folks. So if you do get a chance to grab this for yourself, try and grab one. They are still about. They are quite difficult to get hold of at times, but just persevere and one will pop up and show up when you least expect it, folks. Okay, so we just want to get these little bits and pieces in place on the tank there. A couple of little valves and little lids that go on the tank there, little pressure release valve. Get that in place, and then we can start grabbing the final bits of the model. Let's bring our bike back in, looking rather sexy, isn't she? We'll drop the paddock stand off, we'll pop our tank on. There she is in place. Can now just put the front or upper fairing on. Again, there's a little post poking out the front that engages in a hole in the fairing. And then just splay your edges out slightly so that you can engage that and get the fairing itself around the engine. And a later stage we'll be putting in the little reinforcing side spars which go between the tank and the fairing. We'll just screw that in place on the frame itself, like so. Just make sure it's lining up with its appropriate hole, and then we can screw that home, and that will now retain that in place. Do the same on this side. Put the screw in, align it up, screw it fully home, and then we can put the lower cowling on. And again, it's a shame to cover up that beautiful exhaust, but there you go. That's what we need to do, folks. And there is the Nastro Azzurro NSR 500 in all its glory. We just got the fairing canopy to go on the top there. But I must admit, she has come together rather nicely. So I'm going to put her on her paddock stand to keep her safe. I'll get it photographed and then I'll put the wheels on the paddock stand at a later date. And there you go. That is ready to be photographed, folks. So I hope you've enjoyed this little build. I certainly have. This is the Honda NSR 500 from 1999. Nastro Azzurro version, Valentino Rossi. And I think she's come up rather nice, I must admit. So we're going to have some photographs come up shortly. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, folks. Thanks for all your support. Don't forget, like and subscribe. And you can support me on patreon.com/Festa67's workshop if you choose to do so. All the details are in the description below the video even. Until the next time, stay safe and well. Bye-bye for now.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down.